Having recently played the Call of Duty World War II beta, it has reminded me of the many concerns people often highlight about the overall franchise. When first heading into the beta, I was optimistic that this would be the year that Call of Duty would finally sink its hooks into me and give that nostalgic experience that I've been longing for. The basic menus and wider presentation call back to a time where World War II shooters were the norm as opposed to the exception. The marketing team getting an erection every time the M1 Garand makes the iconic ping sound in all the trailers is proof that they want players to feel this nostalgia. However, these old aesthetic details could not hide its similarly aged gameplay design. Without a fresh coat of paint, it may be hard to tell whether this truly is a new release or simply a DLC weapon and map pack with the futuristic movement disabled. After subscribing to the initial hype of the announcement trailer months ago, I was certain that this would be the year that Call of Duty innovates in new and unexpected ways. However, I find it hard to tell how it has improved in any meaningful way from the previous year's iteration. I feel as if the Call of Duty formula, which was once the pinnacle of shooters a decade ago, has simply not innovated with the times. The casual nature may be enough for a majority of players. However, for those who have been accustomed to the strategic nature of Rainbow Six, the teamwork-oriented gameplay of Overwatch, the movement and quality of life features in Titanfall, and the sheer spectacle of something like Battlefield, it is hard to recommend this game to anyone looking for more in a shooter. Many may defend the franchise, and rightly so, as being for those who don't wish to spend hours keeping up with the latest patch notes, having to rely on teammates, and want to always be in the middle of the action, without ever needing the initial build up. A game where you can focus on just shooting people, without ever really being meaningfully punished for your mistakes. A game designed to blow off steam, as opposed to being calculating or competitive. However, in my several hours of playing, and coming first a significant portion of matches, I never felt the satisfaction that I'd feel with any other game. Kills felt less significant, and the new focus on more objective-based gameplay felt as if it punished objective players with cheap deaths, rather than rewarding them for doing their part for a team. Call of Duty is trying to implement a more objective-based focus, when the game just doesn't support that style of gameplay at a fundamental level. Friendly players cannot be interacted with in any way, and the most meaningful way you can support your team is by covering their location with smoke grenades, which the game doesn't reward you with in any way, meaning players might as well choose something more fun to use. The kill streaks themselves also feel dated, and oftentimes unrewarding. For example, a player may get 70 kills in a single match, which would be a huge achievement on paper. However, if they got cheesed by a random grenade every 4th kill, then they'll have gone the entire match without ever earning that 5-man kill streak they crave. This happened to me in several games, where I was able to come first on the winning team. However, it seemed like such an unsatisfying experience, because the ultimately meaningless rewards from winning didn't supplement the lost enjoyment I felt from never reaching that kill streak. And of course, when I finally did acquire the kill streaks I wanted, I found the experience to be ultimately hollow, as all the work had gone into what seemed like a 5-second interactive cutscene, where I had to live with the knowledge that I probably just cheesed some other poor fuck out of their kill streak as well. This is of course where I expect to hear the opinion that I should simply get good. However, I feel as if this is a poor argument, and that all players should more or less be able to get access to these kill streaks. In all seriousness, I feel as though the people who may tell me to get good may not know about the alternatives currently in other games. For example, in Titanfall, your Titan is put on a cooldown of several minutes. However, doing objectives, killing AI, and picking off other players shaves a significant amount of time off of this countdown, meaning that even the most potato motherfuckers are able to use the game's most interesting toys, however, often at a less frequent rate than the natural MLG gods. Or take for example Overwatch's ultimate system, where doing damage, healing teammates, and generally playing the objective allows every player to slowly build up their most powerful abilities over time. The abilities also don't reset upon death, incentivizing players in many cases to die for the good of their team. In Call of Duty, Players are incentivized to stay alive in order to build up their powerful kill streaks. However, in many cases, this actively encourages them to camp and go for easy kills. Players who focus on objectives are either rewarded with a quick death or by a small score increase that is very hard to justify considering the amount of risk involved. The fundamental game design is seemingly intended to be toxic and infuriating. Call of Duty is obviously made for a more casual shooter audience. However, the systems that make the game so approachable also contribute to its shortcomings. Being a huge fan of the Modern Warfare series, I needed to have a serious think about whether it was simply nostalgia that left me with such fond memories of the earlier entries that put the franchise on the map. However, it's clear that it isn't nostalgia that's made the Modern Warfare franchise so successful, but rather that the games were so innovative at the time. Kill streaks, perks, quick scoping and kill cams are all staples of modern shooters that were shaped or popularized by the early Call of Duty entries. However, the biggest and most justified complaint for the franchise now is that 10 years and 10 games since the dawn of the Modern Warfare series, the franchise has not been able to recreate that kind of innovation that initially allowed it to thrive. It may have been the bare bones version of the game, but the beta seemed to have far less customization and playstyle options than was available 10 years ago. However, it is important to state that this is no fault of the developers. After all, if a company is receiving $1 billion a year by not needing to innovate, then you're going to bet they are not going to change their formula anytime soon. The developers are most likely not given the opportunity to make drastic changes to the core design of the franchise, which in itself must be so frustrating, considering it was ex-Call of Duty developers who broke off and created the shooter masterpiece that is the Titanfall franchise. It would be truly incredible to see the Activision executives simply give each development team complete creative freedom and let these obviously talented individuals create something that can once again shock the shooter genre the way it did a decade ago. However, this is not something to hold your breath over. The fact is, Call of Duty isn't a bad franchise, and COD WW2 isn't a bad game. However, when the multiplayer shooter genre has changed and innovated over the past decade and given players so many different and more interesting experiences, the Call of Duty franchise has stayed very much the same. Which is why it makes it so hard to justify buying this year's entry, especially when there are so many excellent alternatives on the market. I would like to state that I'm never in support of hating something because it's simply a popular thing to hate. Because if this becomes a too accepted part of game culture, I fear that it may discourage people from experiencing a great game that they would otherwise enjoy. I can only hope the full version of this year's Call of Duty is able to prove me wrong about the series and provide a truly next level experience. However, at the moment, I can't see myself committing to the Call of Duty hype this year when there are so many other games on offer. However, if you're a die-hard fan of the series and think this video was a piece of shit, consider donating to the fuck you and fuck your opinion tier on my Patreon page. Alternatively, you could check out my other rewards, ranging from exclusive videos to things that I can't quite believe Patreon hasn't banned me for yet. The link is in the description. But until next time, have fun and embrace the bullshit.